everything, without exception, that the separate self does, it does in order to be divested of its limitations and returned to its origin. Everything. So this magnetism that you say, the magnetism towards the separate self, no, it's the magnetism. The separate self constantly feels the magnetic pull of its origin, of its true nature. Everything the separate self does, it does in order to be returned to its source.
But going in the wrong direction.
It's always going in the right direction, which is towards peace, towards happiness, but it goes through an object. But it's still going in the right direction. That the happiness that the person out on the street seeks through objects is exactly the same happiness that we seek in our true nature. We're all going in the same, everyone's going in the same direction, towards peace, happiness. Most people go through objects. Most people have not yet been sufficiently disappointed by objects and relationships to go directly there. We have all been sufficiently disappointed, so we're now going directly there, but we're all going to the same place. Everyone.
Why going through the object and not directly?
But they go through objects because they go through objects, substances, activities and relationships because they think they are a separate subject. As long as they think that separate subject is a real subject of experience, I really am a separate, independently existing self or person, that person is by definition going towards objects, because the subject and object are two sides of the same movement. So if we feel I am a separate self, we are destined to go towards the object, the substance, the activity, the person, which is why this investigation into the nature of the apparently separate self is the path through which we have to go. Either the investigation or the surrender of the separate self is the path through which we go backwards to our true nature. Once we've understood clearly that objects, substances, activities, states of mind and relationships cannot, by definition, deliver the happiness we seek above all else, then our search for happiness in the objective content of experience comes to an end.
Okay.
Yeah. Once we've seen that really clearly, not just had a vague notion of it, but once we've seen it clearly, the utter impossibility of objective experience to bring us to happiness, our happiness-seeking project in the world, it loses its power. It just peters out. Remember T.S. Eliot and the Four Quartets. I said to myself, be still. For hope would always be hope for the wrong thing. Love would always be love for the wrong thing. Whatever you hope for is always hope for the wrong thing. Just see that clearly, so you just cannot escape the truth of it. Hope is always hope for the wrong thing. Just have the courage to face that fact and allow that understanding to work in you.
Yeah, that hope is not really conscious. It's in the subconscious.
No, but it's very deep. You're right. There is even those of us that have been exploring these matters for a long time, and we understand this. We need to go very deep into us and ask ourselves the question, do I just subscribe to the understanding that nothing objective can bring me happiness? Or has this happiness-seeking adventure in the world, has it really been undone by this understanding? Or is there this deep impulse in me still to go towards someone or something? We have to be honest with ourselves about that, because you're right. When the surface of our mind stops seeking happiness in the world, there's a deeper layer this subliminal impulse to go towards, even if we're not going towards, we may not be going towards, like a momentum, exactly. Even if we're not going towards a person, an object, but there's just this impulse in us to go towards, like a dynamism, a residual dynamism, a residual impulse, just to go towards, to become, to find. It's very deep, and you're right, it's not just in our thoughts, it's at an energetic level. And it's these deeper layers, this deeper subliminal residual impulse of seeking that is exposed in our meditations, for instance, in the long silences in our meditations. That's why the silences are really important. That's when these layers come to the surface, and they must come to the surface. So we need to, as you obviously are, Thomas, we need to be very honest with ourselves and allow this understanding to penetrate not just the way we think, but to penetrate really deeply into the body, deeply into our feelings, to these deep impulses we have to move towards someone or something.
To bring all these layers to light.
Yes, and these layers, exactly, these layers, that they can't be reasoned away. You just need to sit in this understanding. This understanding works in us slowly. You just need to marinate in this understanding gradually. These deeper layers, the creepy crawlies at the bottom of the well when the sun is over the well, they come up to the surface, and it can be uncomfortable. And we should be wary of turning away from these discomforts. Of course, here we tend not to turn away to the grosser forms of distraction and consolation, substances, activity. They're the subtler ones, the non-dual YouTube clips, the subtle objects which are helpful at one stage of our exploration, but they can also become subtle distractions and consolations, means of avoiding allowing these uncomfortable feelings, this residual seeking impulse in us to bubble up to the surface, or anything but having to feel that. I'll turn on the latest YouTube recommendation, the next non-dual teacher in town. Or not just the next non-dual teacher in town, the revered teachers, the masters, even the impulse to watch them sometimes. You have to be really honest, what's our motivation? It's obviously, it's a beautiful thing to do, but it would be more spiritual to not spend that time reading or watching, but to sit and to allow this deep impulse to be exposed and in time dissolved. That's what I mean by allowing this understanding to work in us, to penetrate deeply into us, and expose and dissolve. That's what Meister Eckhart meant this morning. When I am able to establish myself in nothing, and nothing in myself, exposing and uprooting and casting out what is in me. That's what he meant. Exposing and dissolving, uprooting and casting out what is in me. Then I am able to pass into the naked being of God, which is the naked being of the Spirit. When I'm able to establish myself in nothing, and nothing in myself, to sit in this silence, and uprooting and casting out, allowing what is in us to be uprooted and exposed, or cast out and dissolved, then I enter into the naked being of God.